Good morning, I'm Corey Fine.
I'm Jacob Small, and this is the Small Report. Our top story this week, primary elections. This Wednesday, several important battleground states across the country held important elections to decide who would lead each constituency's ticket.
States like North Carolina and Pennsylvania hosted some of the most consequential races, with Democrats and Republicans both fighting for places at the top of each party's individual ticket.
North Carolina, important state for both parties due to its relative closeness, often being considered a swing state for the past 2 decades, sees a challenge for both parties tonight and tests former President Donald Trump's influence in the Republican Party going forward.
Ted Budd, the Trump-backed nominee for Senate, saw a crowded primary race with polling numbers indicating only a minor lead for the candidate over his opponents.
While polling numbers indicated a close race, Ted Budd has come out on top for the state's Republican Senate primary. Meanwhile, for the Democrats, Cherry Beasley took a strong early lead against a relatively weak primary field.
Beasley held strong polling leads heading into Tuesday's elections. The real test for the Democrats was voter turnout, as primary interest has often been a strong indicator for the Democratic Party's success in midterm elections in the state.
Next, we turn to Pennsylvania, a state which could determine if the Democrats maintain, expand, or lose their majority in the Senate, as well as being home to a contentious primary race for Senate, testing the state's voters between moderates and more extreme candidates on both sides.
The state's Democratic primary for Senate is a gauge of voter interest in whether their base in the state prefers moderate or more liberal politics, setting the stage for the midterms in the fall as well as candidate policy going forward.
The race was between John Fetterman, the state's current lieutenant governor who represents the party's more left-wing policies, and Connor Lamb, a moderate whose success and electability in his highly competitive House district positioned him as a relatively strong candidate to win in the general election.
The Republican primary for Senate was less ideologically diverse, however, with much of the primary season devoted to candidates fighting each other over who was the true, most Trump-like candidate amongst them, with TV's Dr. Oz finally getting the former president's backing.
Yes. Heading into election night, the race was too close to call, with 3 candidates in a relative dead heat for first place in polls.
The Republican side was much more competitive, with a heated race between Doug Mastriano and Lou Barletta fighting it out for the top spot. Mastriano took a somewhat strong lead on election night, securing a 20-point lead over his closest opponent, but failing to secure over 50% of the vote.
In summary, it was a strong day for the staying power of Trump and his influence in the Republican Party.
It was also a good night for establishment Democrats and Democrats previously elected to offices in the states they're running in, as they won every primary they ran for.
Now, for the last time,
What the news?
Welcome to your final installment of West Bloomfield's What the News. I'm your host, and I am so sad right now. As you know, we discuss some very important topics on this show, all of which have been factual, despite how odd they seem. During the production of these episodes, we have spent countless hours deciphering between fact and fiction. But have we educated you, the populace of our school, enough to tell the difference between real and fake headlines? Let's find out. I'm gonna give you 2 headlines. One of them is true, one of them is false. You have to tell me which is which. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Option number 1, scientists discover a new species of goat capable of surviving a fall from over 200 meters. Option number 2, parasitic worms get sucked into a gender-biased feud amid claims of names being sexist. Which one is true, which one is false?
The first one's true, second one false.
So you think a goat can survive a fall from 200 meters?
Definitely.
I'm gonna say the second one is true.
You think a parasitic worm is sexist?
Yes.
You know, option 2 sounds so out there that it seems real.
So you think that a parasitic worm is sexist?
Totally.
That is correct, Arthur Yang. Congratulations.
I am ready.
All right, option number 1. Florida man was arrested after telling officers dad jokes in an attempt to escape a drug charge. Option number 2, Florida man was arrested after repeatedly calling 911 and asking them to arrest Joe Biden. Which one is true and which one is false?
The second one is true.
I think number 2 is true.
You think a Florida man was arrested after repeatedly asking 911 to arrest Joe Biden?
Yes.
I'm gonna say the second one because I think that's something that a Florida man would do. They both are something a Florida man would do, but just having issues with the president sounds pretty Florida.
That is correct. Congratulations. Option number 1, the Orphans Challenge is causing harm in parts of Georgia and Florida, police warn. Option number 2, the new Worm Challenge is sparking an epidemic on elementary school playgrounds.
Orbeez is real.
Option 2?
Is option 2 true or false?
False.
So you think the Worm Challenge is not sparking an epidemic on elementary school playgrounds?
Yes. Number 1 is true and number 2 is false.
That is correct. Congratulations. Option number 1, Arby's manager in Washington State peed in the milkshake mix. Option number 2, Wisconsin man aged 58 sets the world record for the most cheese consumed at 47 pounds.
I don't believe that a man in Wisconsin ate that much cheese. I really, really think that the Arby's pee thing is true.
It's Wisconsin.
I'm gonna keep the Arby's one true in my heart. That really appeals to my own interests.
Cheese. True. Yes.
You think a Wisconsin man at the age of 58 ate 47 pounds of cheese?
Absolutely.
That is wrong. Very sorry. Well, I'm almost impressed. You did okay. I still do much better than you because I never get it wrong. That's it for me. I'm out. Back to you in the studio for the last time.
Thank you for tuning in to The Small Report.
I would like to end today's show by thanking everyone who tuned into West Bloomfield's The Small Report this year. I've enjoyed working on this show so much. I've gotten to work with a great crew and some great co-hosts. So thank you. Thank you to the viewer, and thank you to Abby, Corey, Wyatt, and Callum for helping me write and present this show. Thank you to Austin, Kendall, Owen, and the whole Laker Update team for helping behind the scenes. Thank you to Mrs. Williamson for supporting our show and providing us with a space to create. But most of all, thank you to the viewer who watched us, gave interviews for us, and provided feedback to make our show better. And I would like to go out with one final plea. Your civic responsibility is to go out there, get educated, and vote. Your participation in the governmental process and in elections is the only way that your voice can be heard. It can be demoralizing sometimes, feeling like your voice is not heard. However, the only way to make it so is to go out, engage in protests, fight for what you believe in, and vote. Thank you.